Welcome, Farewell fans. I am your host, MNG, and we are having another one-on-one conversation. Now, I try to bring you the best of the best information out there. And some of my stories are very heartfelt, some of my stories are unforgettable, and my experiences are your experiences. But today I have on the show Courtney Thomas, and we are going to give you some primetime information that is great for your well-being. Courtney, how are you doing today, man?
And I'm doing great. Pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me on today.
Man, thank you for coming on. Now, after hearing your story and you send us your information, we are very appreciative that you come out here. I talk to, and I know a lot of people that have been in various situations and think that there is no way out. They
Yes.
feel like they are in a box, and that box is where they must stay and where they stand. And no matter how many times I talk to the guys that I know, and I say, man, there's always something different that you can do. There's opportunities everywhere, but you can't just reside yourself to one, frame of mind. And when I read your story, I was completely blown away by the transformation because I don't really see it often in my circle.
Yep.
And you hear about it, but it's not publicized everywhere on the news, and it's not like, hooray, this person did it. So it's not publicized like that. So I really want to publicize you and, the trials that you went through and the barriers that you had to overcome. So if you can, share a bit about your upbringing and the circumstances that led to, your early incarceration.
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up in Chicago on the South Side. You hear always the product of your environment. That kind of became my living reality at an early age.
Yep.
By 21, I had got my first incarceration. I ended up doing like three incarcerations in like a 7-year period. Mostly violence and drugs. That's what I was seeing. That's how I got into. And it just came to a point like at that last incarceration, my third time, I just didn't want to live the lifestyle that I was living. And I know that I had more potential within. And so it was time for me to kind of explore what that meant. Um, I felt a calling for more religion at that time. And I didn't have like a religious upbringing. Um, it became a point of seeing like, now I think of where my journey has led me is more spirituality. And the difference between the two is like religion is seeking God outside of yourself, and then spirituality is seeking God within. But it started for me just kind of starting with the Bible. That last prison sentence that I did, I ended up just kind of reading through the whole Bible, seeing what stood out to me. I was trying to make a relationship with the Creator. And I remember reading John 14:12, and it was Jesus in the red letter saying, not only will my disciples do the works that I've done, but they'll do greater things. And, I couldn't honestly say I believed that to be the truth at the time. This was my third incarceration, and I'm
Right.
sitting in the prison cell while I'm reading all these miraculous things that he's doing. But I remember just kind of having a sincere prayer. And I had that faith that was being talked about. And I'm just saying, like, if you are who you are, just lead me. And there's really no, place I won't follow. And so that was like the beginning of my journey of seeking. And then
Mhm.
where I was led was just something that someplace that I didn't expect. But I remember saying, like, I'm going to follow this because I made this promise. And it led me to the Eastern Indian traditions of like yoga and meditation. Remember just kind of starting off with yoga at first. I got a book out of Barnes and Nobles where I started doing it in my mom's like living room. Just got out of prison that third time. I was living with my mom trying to get some, transition. And I started doing the like in-home yoga sessions. And it was like good for me. I remember feeling good inside. I didn't know what I was doing, but I remember feeling good. And then it was saying something in there like, yoga is just, and I'm saying yoga asanas, meaning like the postures,
Okay.
is a way to get your body and mind ready for meditation. And I really didn't think I was ready for meditation at the time, but I remember seeing some stuff about Oprah and this guy
Yeah.
named Deepak Chopra. Like I didn't know who Chopra was at the time, but Oprah, they was doing these 21-day meditations together. And I'm like, okay, well, if Oprah's doing it, I'll check it out. And I started doing the meditation, and stuff really started to feel good. And I wanted to take it serious. So that was kind of like the beginning of my journey. Um, Multiple incarcerations as a youth, really finding some stability in religion at the beginning. And then that led me into the practices that I'm doing now, how I'm, integrating some of these things at my wellness spa, and how I just did my whole degree background into these as well.
So I kind of want to jump back
Yeah,
into a few of the statements you said. You stated that you didn't have a religious upbringing,
correct,
and you found religion, while incarcerated, and it turned over to spirituality.
correct.
And you also stated that religion is seeking God outside of oneself, and spirituality is seeking God within oneself.
That's my definition for it. Yeah.
Okay. So, and the reason why, and I'll share this with you. The reason why I said that is because I grew up in a religious household.
Okay.
Okay, grandma was very religious, and my mindset when it came to religion was that you know my I was 50% religion and I was 50% scientific. Right?
Okay.
What can I physically prove? Okay, just follow me. What could I physically prove? And I went through several aspects of religion
Hmm.
until I found spirituality.
Okay.
And my spirituality, and I'm glad that you put it the way that you did, is because when I look at spirituality, I look at spirituality is using one's own energy to
Hmm.
manifest, their well being, to manifest their future.
Their
Rely on your
desire.
own energy
Yeah.
to propel yourself through the universe, right?
Yes.
So when I went through religion, and I actually lost my religion when my grandmother died.
Mm.
That's when I lost my religion because there was a lot of things that happened to my grandma prior to her death,
Hmm.
but it's the way that she died that I couldn't understand and I couldn't come to terms and grips with. Now,
Okay.
while my whole family was in the waiting room praying, hoping that she comes through, answers going unanswered, so to speak. So I lost my religion that day. That was 2016. I lost my religion. Found spirituality a little bit later.
Hmm.
And for me, I feel spirituality is so much more open and accepting of others. Because I feel a lot of judgment comes from people that are of a particular religion.
Yeah.
And that's in my experience. I can't
Yeah.
account for anybody else.
Yes.
But for me, I feel a lot of judgment comes from a lot of people that are that claim different religious sectors and everything.
Yes.
And the reason why I'm having this conversation for you and for the Farewell fans is to let people understand that even though you come from a religious background, it doesn't mean you have to stay there.
Okay.
You can have an open mind, because I read about Buddhism, I read about Confucius, Taoism. I read about all of that stuff. And when it boils down to it, you're reading philosophy.
Hmm.
You're reading history. You're reading all of these books for understanding. But at the end of the day, how you practice and what makes you feel better is that's what you go along with.
For sure.
Spirituality just made more sense to me because I could be open to everybody's religion for understanding, and I can accept their religion, and I can still go about my day without any corrupt. What I would say, people feel corrupted when they're part of a religion and they hear something else. And they feel like, well, I don't want that to corrupt who I am because this
Yeah.
is what I believe. And it's like, it's not a corruption. It's it's kind of like when you go to school. You was in
Hmm.
one subject and then you went to another subject. That subject didn't interfere with the previous subject.
Yep.
It's just something that you're learning that's opening your mind. You don't have to accept it as part of your belief. It's just being acceptance of everybody's belief and
Yeah.
saying, hey, you know what? I accept your belief in what you believe in who you are, and I'm gonna leave it at that. It doesn't make them. It doesn't mean you have to demonize them or whatnot. And I'm really talking more to my experience, and this is why. And that's why I'm glad that you had said spirituality, because I believe in spirituality and manifestation, and I can prove that in my experience, when I manifested something, it happened in under 5 years.
Yes.
Speaking to the universe, it happens. Meditation works. I meditate. you know and one of the people that for philosophy and meditation that I was looking towards like heavily back before 2020 was with Alan Watts.
Okay. Yep.
I listened to a lot of his speeches, he has a lot of stuff on YouTube. A lot of people still kind of recreate some of his sayings through videos. But
Yeah.
I don't want to take the conversation
Okay.
away, but
So from everything you just mentioned, I mentioned a couple points. So um, I would say the religious part was a great foundation for me,
yeah, yeah,
um, especially because I didn't have it in my upbringing. And so just to kind of see what was being said, I just needed the information again and making my own judgment call. And it got to a point where when I got out of prison, I was still I was still in the religious path. I was going to church and whatever that stands for. But it came to a point where I'm having this inner hearing of, if I really want to grow into where I'm going, that I need to get off spiritual milk, religious milk, and move on to some substance. And so
right,
that's what gave me um, the whereabouts to step outside of the church and start seeking God within myself instead of seeking it in the church or in the pastor. All right.
yeah,
So once that started to happen, um, what where I was led again, the yoga and meditation, these are called Vedic sciences. So Vedic is knowledge, and then it's a scientific approach where most science is looked at as objective, where you're looking at the object and you're seeing how it goes. A subjective experience means, okay, I'm going to say do this posture or do this meditation and see what's actually going on in my life and how it's working inner and outer, what I'm being able to manifest and how I feel mentally, physically, to see that improvement. And so this, I like you bringing the science part in, because when I left religion, it became more of me doing a scientific experiment on myself with
yep,
these studies to see what the end product was. And so now I'm going through this journey, and I'm seeing a lot of inner changes. I'm saying, because again, mine was more, my issues that I was dealing with at the time was more emotional, and I think of emotions as like energy in motion. But
yep,
when the body has blockages and things, then when I got emotional, it came out as violence. Uh, Example, like it really didn't matter. One of my incarcerations was for injury to a police officer, so it really didn't matter what was going on. When I got emotional, this is how these things came out. And from a religious standpoint, I'm seeing like this is the temple, this body is the temple of God. And if I really want to have a greater relationship with the creator, then I need to learn ways to purify this temple, because God
right,
is within. And so that's when I started looking into yoga, to meditation, to the Ayurvedic practices. Ayurveda is a system of healthcare from Eastern India. That's what I did my bachelor's degree in. That's when I really started to see some fruit on the outside. Things that I was manifesting on the outside started to happen for me when I was going through certain cleansing protocols, things like that. So Oprah and Chopra, one of their meditations was called Perfect Health. And they were
mhm,
saying, if you want to experience perfect health, then come to the Chopra Center. We can go through this 10-day detoxification process. I didn't know what I was getting myself into then, but when I went through it, man, life was different. I remember my wife just saying, this was like a month after we went for the cleanse. She was like, you're just not this same angry person anymore. And I just had to, like, nothing really changed, but we just went through this process. And so I started doing like the daily routines of cleansing protocols for the body, and every day was getting better, and things that I was wanting starting to manifest on the outside. And so I took it serious. Like over a year period, I'm doing, the daily routines every day. I'm seeing the fruit happen on the outside. So I decided to go to do my degree program in this system of healthcare. And it became a point I felt like I was ready to be of service. And that's when I opened up the wellness spa here in Colorado Springs. So that's just some points that you was mentioning. Um, like coming out of religion, it just felt like I was stagnant. It was a great
Mhm.
foundation, but things were getting stagnant. And from the place that I was looking to go again, Jesus saying I can do greater works than him. Like I took that seriously.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to have to be some work that goes in if I'm going to, reach that type of level. And that's not something they was teaching in church, at least not the church that I was going to, So I completely had this inner intuition, and I felt like I was literally being guided by Christ, and he was sending me into places that was very not common for me, and very uncomfortable for me as well. But I decided to stick with it anyway, and I'm living a much better lifestyle these days. You mentioned one more thing, the judgment part. Like when I first started yoga, starting the thing in my mom's house, I remember telling my uncle, and like they're, that side of my family very religious. If I went to church, it was probably with them when I was a kid. And I
Yeah.
remember him saying something like, that's the devil's work. And I was like, huh? I was like, I know how I feel inside. And now he's making me have second guessing my judgment. So I
Yeah.
remember at that point, it was like, I'm not going to share this journey with everybody. This is
Yeah.
a journey that's going to have to be more internal because
Yeah.
I know what I'm hearing. So I'm going to do what I'm feeling.
Right.
And, they understand now. But back then, it's 10 years ago, 13 years ago. It just wasn't that. So,
You know, when you mentioned that story, it brings me back to one of my favorite cousins. Still my favorite cousin today. If she watched this, I love you, cuz. But she told me, I remember that I was telling her I was going to go to a non-denominational church.
yep.
And this was on my religious journey, finding my way, learning, growing. And she told me that she was like, well, if you go there, you're gonna go to hell. And I looked at it, I was like, man, that's kind of steep. just for going to a
Yeah.
non-denominational church, it
Yeah.
it was steep, and I'm just like, dang, cuz I'm like, you're really gonna sit here and tell me, because again, this is from a very religious family.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me that because I seek new information and understanding, or different information and understanding,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to hell for
Yeah.
just being curious and inquiring about this information?
Yeah.
And it took me back, but it made me understand again the judgment that is associated with religion. The
Yeah.
judgment. So speaking about journeys, can you share, what were some key lessons that you learned about on yourself, or learned about yourself going through this journey of self-growth? Because even on my journey, just like you learned, you were able to, no, I ain't gonna say, I don't want to say dispel.
Mhm.
You were able to grow past the emotional out outburst.
Yeah.
If that's correct.
Yeah.
And I could say that when I first started working at, because I used to work in the court system. So when I first started working in the court system at 21, I was a very emotional person.
Hmm.
I was very frustrated, short tempered, and everything. Now, I will say that it took a village to kind of weed all of that out, but it also took another level of understanding, so far as some of the things that my grandmother taught me, some of the spiritual things that I kind of learned along the way, to kind of get rid of all that energy and start looking for more understanding in my situations and not reaction.
Hmm. So, I mean, what I learned is, you know, I look at it as we're a soul. The soul is an image of spirit and born in the image of the creator. But we have this mind in this body. And if we don't take care of it, um, then it becomes a hindrance more than it should be. And so I was going, again, it was the processes that I was going through that I'm reading and learning about all these different aspects, and over generations they're saying, okay, if you do these certain things, then these are going to be ways to purify the body. Mostly I was mostly focused on the body at first. The mind, I didn't have control over. I knew that. That's why I was acting out in the ways that I was. But I could have some type of control over what practices I was doing, what I was putting into this body, what processes I was doing to cleanse this body out. And then as I started to do that, that gave me more control of my mind. And I'm not the mind, and I'm not the body. I'm soul. I'm in the image of the creator, but these are my greatest assets or my worst enemy. And so I started to take that seriously. And as I was going through the cleanses, and it made situations easier for me to make certain decisions or to function in certain ways. And the science project was working. Like
Mm-hmm.
the system of healthcare, Ayurveda, that I studied for 5,000 years, is saying like these are the things you can do, and here's going to be the result. Now, many people have saw the results of this, but it wasn't my experience at that time until I started to do the things myself. Now it's actually becoming my experience. Now it's becoming real to me. Now this is my new reality. And because I took the time every day, day in and day out, to do the science experiment, I knew that this was something that worked. It wasn't just something that was a philosophy or something that was someone was telling me. And once I regained control over mind and body, then I could function in society. So it just kind of started off where I just really didn't want to go back to prison. And I'm like, damn, well, I'm doing pretty good. Life's great. I'm not, I don't even have these same patterns that I'm used to, the same patterns that was giving me multiple incarcerations. And then it came to a point where it was about fulfilling desires. Like, okay, I'm done with this part of my life. This is the past. Now what can I build for in the future? And I'm not gonna, start off saying right away, let's do works of Christ. Let's see what I can at least manifest for my own physical well-being, for my
Right.
financial well-being, for um, seeing that this now works. How do I give this back to my family? How do I give this back to the community? And every day, just putting the work in, then you start to see the results. And this gave me, a power that we are, in the image of the creator. So we do have this ultimate power if we begin to seek within. Seek ye first the kingdom, and then all things will be added on to you. This has been my reality just by simply going within and fixing the inner mind and body. Then everything that I've desired has come to me. Now it's trying to, get to these other, aspects of things. So it's been a delightful journey. It's been struggles. Like it's not
Mhm.
all easy. Like especially because these are now practices. Like I had to take responsibility to say that you know the things that happened in the past was my own doing. So
Right.
if that's the case, then everything that's coming from me in the future will also be my doing if I start to do the things that I know I should be doing. And so um, it's been a great journey. It's challenges along the way because now you're developing mind, body, consciousness. You're developing as well, and these are
Yes.
things that wasn't taught to me as a kid. Again, I grew up in slums and poverty, and like none of this was real to me. I had to make this real for myself day in and day out.
Right. And I you know, the when you said consciousness, I automatically started to think about some of the habits and behaviors of that you have subconsciously. Um, but before I trail off somewhere into a whole other world, you started a business,
Yeah,
and that's in Colorado Springs. Can you give us a little bit of insight about this business?
for sure. So it's called Luna Float Spa and Salt Cave. It's a multi-modality wellness spa. We have a lot of different services. These are things that I was also doing along the way. So while meditation and yoga and Ayurveda are like my foundation,
Mhm.
these are the things that's helped me to develop higher states of consciousness. There also has been like more new age aspects that I've been integrating in to help with the purification. of mind and body. So our main service, Luna Float Spa, our main service is flotation therapy. They used to call it sensory deprivation. I remember
Okay.
first hearing about that from Steph Curry. He would say he was going in there to use it for like practicing his 3 pointers and free throws, like mentally. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm deep in like this meditation practice. Let me see what my experience was. And I had a great experience of like transcending. No mantra, no nothing, just kind of get into a deep space just by being inside of the float tank. So I knew one day that was something that I wanted to be able to offer. I was just doing it maybe once a month. I was still in school, doing my degree and stuff at the time, but I knew it was something that was became a part of my awareness that was helpful for me. Um, our next like biggest service is called Halo Therapy. We have a salt cave. It's about 23,000 pounds of Himalayan salt inside of a space.
Mhm.
It's mostly for respiratory management. So when we purchased our spot, it was 2020 July. We wanted to have something for respiratory management because COVID was, a big thing. So
It
we
was
ended up building out the salt cave for that. We do infrared sauna, ionic foot baths, massage therapy, Himalayan singing bowls. We have a lot of different services that we offer here. And it was mostly based on relaxation. So when I halfway through my degree program, I felt like I was ready to be of service, but it was like COVID, like at the height of it. So I ended up
mm,
purchasing this business from a different owner. And I felt like while I feel people will get the most benefit from the consciousness based approach, I didn't feel like it was the best business decision. So I
okay.
was focused more on let me give people what they want. People want relaxation. So let me put together a package of different services to offer for someone to come in for an hour or 6 hours where they come just have a day of relaxation to knock off the stress. And it worked. It was like a great business model where, we've rose 8 times in revenues from when we first started 4 years ago.
Awesome. Awesome.
Multiple new services, double square footage. We have 10 employees. So it was a great business model. And now I'm looking more to add in I'm a meditation teacher now, teach yoga asanas. I do like health consultations, things like that. So I'm trying to add the consciousness based approach in for the more transformational experiences than
Okay.
just to be on the relaxation spectrum. But I want people to be able to come to me and get what they want. I would rather give you what you need, but if where you are right now is just relaxation, then come for a day of relaxation, and then you get to know us, you like us, you trust us, and when you're ready to make that step in that journey, then we will be here for you.
And I just want to kind of highlight the transformation that you went through. You know, 3 times incarcerated in under 7 years, and now a successful business owner. You found religion, transformed that, got education in it, and now a successful business owner. That is a huge transformation.
It is. It is.
And if nobody is this, if anybody should be inspired about this story, that if you think that you cannot transform your life and go down a different path, this is the story right here.
Thank you.
I mean, I have to take this break and highlight this transformation because there are so many people that they hit the wall
Yeah.
and don't pivot, and they stop because they feel like they can't go any further,
Yeah.
and there's opportunities that lie beyond that that brick wall. You just got to pivot to get around there.
So true, man. Even I mean, it's like my transformation was a little dramatic, but not everyone's, in behind prison walls. But it's still
True,
this mental prison. You know what I'm saying? It's
true.
a prison of doubt, of fear, of regrets that people are living in, and that's why you see like psychological um, experiences that's happening right now where it's so much health and mental health that's a huge issue right now because it's people that's in these mental prisons, you could say. And so even though you might not be where I was, it's still these aspects that you may be living in, and there's a way around it, man. And it's greater on the other side.
It is. It is. I have so another story. I know I fill my life up with stories. I got a I got a friend, and we haven't talked in a while, but we grew up together in the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he dropped out at eighth grade. How was he able to drop out at eighth grade? I don't know, but he dropped out at eighth grade, and now he wanted to go back to school, so he contacted me, say, MNG, I want to go back to school. um can you help me? And I'm like, bro, yeah, I'll help you. I'm not gonna turn anybody away that needs my help, regardless of what our relationship is. I'm gonna help you. So I try to help him out. Come to find out, I didn't know that you couldn't, if you didn't graduate, if you didn't graduate middle school or attended high school, you can't get your GED.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that that was a thing until we did the research and found out. But he's a great mechanic.
Mm.
He's a great mechanic. Can fix, when it comes to cars, can fix anything,
Yep.
anything. And I'm like, well, why don't you just go ahead and open up your own shop? But he can't get, it's certain barriers that he can't get past
Mm-hmm.
to get there to open a shop. And all he needs is a financier to just come in and finance it. And all he got to do is do the work and make sure that it stays afloat.
It's so, yeah, I'm glad you're bringing this up. I mean, to be able to have help from other people is essential. Like a story, we talking about stories. Um, I took a sabbatical from like life situations. So that means I'm like left work, I left the criminal lifestyle. So for years I wasn't financially stable at all. My wife, great soul, love her to death, she handled this part of our lives for a couple years when we first got together. And that gave me, she believed in my vision. And that gave me the time to really find God within myself and to have the confidence to step out to do what I'm doing today. Um, and, I've been through bankruptcies and all the different things. So I couldn't even get financing for this business that I'm going through. And it came to a point where like I believed enough in myself at the time when this opportunity presented itself. And when opportunities come, like nature, God, creator's gonna test you to see if you really want what you saying you believe you want. And so like I end up selling my house to buy this business in the pandemic, this July of 2020. And the business wasn't even really successful. Like they were probably break even by the time 5 years in when we purchased it. And I just felt enough in myself. My father, 4 years before that, helped me to purchase a home when me and my wife got married. So that was, some help from the outside that helped us to get the home. My
Yeah.
wife helped to support these things while I'm growing through my own journey to help me get to where I am today. And then when I finally felt like, again, I felt like I was ready to be of service. And now this opportunity is here, but I don't have a way to make it happen financially. So using resources, couldn't get credit, had bankruptcy, couldn't do none of those things. But I took a chance on ourselves and myself and my wife, and we stepped out. Like we put it all on the line. We killed it. And we, happy to be in this position because it could have went the other way. We could be homeless without a business. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, put in the work first so that that ready for what it is that you're asking for. And then once you didn't put enough work in, now you have to step out and be vulnerable. And even these 4 years hasn't been just, peaches and cream. It's been a lot of struggles as a small business owner,
Yeah.
struggling through certain aspects. But if you growing, growth is going to stretch you in certain ways, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but that means you're growing, and it's good all the way around. So just glad you brought up that story because it hasn't just been all smooth since I've been out of prison, man. That last time, that was 2012 when I got out. A lot of personal work that went on a day-to-day basis to get me to where I am today. So,
So when we're talking about, being a business owner, being a husband, and being a father, how do you maintain your own well-being and balance with all those aspects happening in your life?
Yeah, definitely. Ain't it's not easy, but what I know, I have to first go with what I believe in,
Okay.
and again, I believe that we are made in this image of the creator, so self has to come first. Like you, it's a big thing out here about work life balance, and you got to have this work life, like inner balance is primary. If you don't have the inner balance, you can't balance work or life. This is things that I knew from long ago when I didn't have the family or the kids or none of those things, but I couldn't even balance my day-to-day activities until I
Right.
learned how to balance the inner me. And so those things have to be first in order for uh the wife to be happy, for to still have some time with the son. Like now I have a full staff. I have a staff that runs the spa. So a lot of my time is more open these days, but um I had to put a lot of work in to make that the reality.
Right.
And they all came from balancing self. And when I'm saying that, it's like daily routine. Here's the things that for 4, 5, 6 years helped me to get here. Now that I'm here, don't disregard the things that helped you get here. Give more time to those things. And uh, life will balance itself out. Like those are the laws of nature, keeping rhythm with these different laws of nature. Just say, for example, being in bed at a certain time when the sun goes down, because this is how the body works. Being up when the sun rises, because this is going to give you the best aspects of moving throughout your day. Um, Certain food habits, you can say. So this Ayurveda is a system of healthcare, again from Eastern India. Aryu means life, Veda means science. So it's the science of lifespan on certain things
Mm.
you should be doing on a day-to-day basis so that your body is in perfect health and your mind is in a place where it's balanced with body. And so those are the things, the daily routine, which helped me to get here. And I still put those things first. Um, I do have a little bit more time for those things now. Um, and I have extended that. Like now that I have extra time, it's just not idle time. I'm putting even more time towards the meditation, the yoga, the daily routines, still being asleep at a certain time, still waking up. When I wake up, usually 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and my family's still asleep. So that gives me more time. The spa doesn't open until 10. So I have from 4 or 5 o'clock until say 8 o'clock before my family even gets up. I'm taking that time and putting that into me, myself.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and that's how I keep balance. Like that's the things that help me balance out my day to day.
When I think about work-life balance, just based on your conversation, and you talk about you have to find balance within you first before you can seek balance on the outside, right? So when we when I think about it, I just find it interesting that there are times where we're all unbalanced, but we're looking for balance on the outside to balance us on the inside, but not looking inwards and say, what? How can I plant? Can I centralize myself, plant my feet on the ground, be stable, and then say, what? I need a work life balance because I'm already balanced and I don't want any kind of chaos, outer chaos to mess with my inner balance. But I
Yeah,
think a lot of people is like, I want outer balance to settle my inner chaos.
that's it. That's the big misconception. That's the
Because you
big,
can't,
and you're never going to get it. It's never going to happen that way. It
no.
can't happen that way. That's not how the creation is made. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, and let's think about it. If we sit here and we're looking at work life balance and everything, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to, okay, even if you worked, so over in I can't remember what country it is, but they work 4 days, get paid for 5. You
Hmm.
got 4 days and you got 3 days to yourself. You still gonna say you don't have enough time?
For sure.
I
This
tell
what
people it's funny because years ago I used to tell people, they would say, "Man, the weekend went by so fast." And I'm like, "Well, that's because you had bad time management skills." They're like, what they got to do with it? I'm like, because
Everything.
you do. like, like
Everything.
if if you're off Friday and you don't do anything Friday, nothing productive, then Saturday you wake up late. So
Yep.
Saturday you sleep in. You sleep
Yep.
until 11. Okay. Then you don't do anything from 11 to 3 or 11 to 5.
I
Then
need
from
that.
5 to 8 or 5 to 9, you're getting ready to go to the club. So then you go, you drink. When you drink, you lose concept of time when you drink.
Yep.
Then, you still hang out all night. You wake up late, maybe with a hangover, maybe not. But when you drink and you party and stuff like that, it drains you.
Yep.
So then you're sleeping in late again the next day. And if you got activities that day, by the time you look up, it's
Monday.
already time to go back to work the next day again. And you like, man, the weekend just blew past me. That's because you didn't manage your time correctly.
It's true, man.
You spent Friday relaxing. You slept in late Saturday and Sunday. So you went from giving yourself 16 hours of time to maybe like 14, 10 hours of time to
Yeah.
actually do stuff. So you only get yourself 20 hours on the weekend to actually relax, so to speak. And you
So
still didn't even relax.
I don't know. It's the big misconception. I really caught it though. I caught it from like why it's why I say the religion part was a great foundation for me because as I started to grow in consciousness, now that I'm like the spiritual aspect and I'm doing the work, as I'm growing in consciousness, I can still go back and relate to these concepts that's being presented in the Bible, but you need to be able to decipher.
Right.
And they say it's specifically saying to seek the kingdom first. And then all these things get added on to you. And so my
Right.
only question at that time, like if this is truth, the only question should be, where's the kingdom and how do I get there? And then it goes on to continue to say, the kingdom of heaven is within. Okay, so what does that mean exactly? All right, I need some type of technique because I have this mind and I need a way to bring the awareness of the mind within to this kingdom. And then from there, all of my desires began to be fulfilled with least amount of effort and most amount of efficiency. So now I'm living the scripture in my own way. And I'm seeing that this is actually my truth. This is not just my truth. This is the truth. And when I started to realize that, dang, like this inner kingdom is most important, and the wife will be happy, and the business and the clients will be happy, and the son will be happy, and all these things around me will benefit from me putting self first. That's not selfish at all. And if it is, then I need more people to be selfish because it's
Right.
all about, it should be about self first and seeking
It should
this.
be.
And that like if when I was able to change that misconception, that's when I started to see the fruit. And Jesus also say, you'll know my followers by their fruit. Like if you doing the work, if you doing, Jesus type things and following what Christ is saying, then you should have some type of fruit in your life, meaning some substance, some material, some business, financial, all these things should just be added literally onto you. And it's been my experience, and that's what I teach these days, is ways to bring people to that inner kingdom so that life becomes less effort, less stress, and more efficient for them as well.
So let me ask you this. So if talking to the farewell audience,
Okay.
talking to these fathers out here that's handling chaos versus inside and outside, how would they go about utilizing these practices, and what make these practices different from other practices?
Yeah. I mean, my main technique that I saw the most results in, like the daily, if I'm talking to somebody about health, if somebody's coming to me specifically from a health standpoint, because that's like what my degree background is in, as simple as early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise. Oh, old proverbs back
Yeah.
in what that's saying. But these are simple ways to realign our mind and body with nature. This body is just a product of our environment. It's a product of the laws of nature. And once we can bring the body in alignment with these specific laws, then we'll start to see more fruit. And it seems simple, like, oh, it just that can't be. But once you literally start like eating another example, just eating lunch at a certain time, because the sun is most high and the sun is what helps us digest. When we digest the food, we can metabolize it. Metabolizing it turns into energy. We have more energy throughout the day, more energy for the brain. The brain needs a lot more energy than all the other cells in the body, just so you can think in a certain way, so that you can have certain ideas, so certain intuitions and things comes to you. That's on the simple side.
Right.
Also simple is meditation. It's it's been the most efficient thing for me. It's where I saw the most results. That's why I took the time to go outside of my degree and to be certified as a meditation teacher. Now, when you say how this differs from other practices, so there's different forms of meditation. Over my 12 years, I first started off with Deepak's meditation, and then I was doing some other stuff and the concentration based and this. So I've done the science on myself on these different styles of meditation to see which one was more appropriate for the lifestyle that I'm living. Um, and so there's basically three different categories of meditation. Concentration based. Concentration based is, you can think of like qigong, certain other forms of meditation where you're trying to control the breath or
Mm-hmm.
control your thoughts. And what the ancients saw is like, you have this monkey mind. Like, it's hard to control the mind. So they were trying to find ways to kind of whip it, like get it to where it needs to be. And concentration has its benefits in other areas of life, but as far as meditation, I didn't think it was most productive. So I continued seeking, because that was probably the first meditation techniques that I was learning, how to control the breath, to shut the mind down, to quiet the mind. And it worked somewhat, but I still wasn't seeing results outside. Um, then you have these mindfulness based techniques. So, everyone's like, oh, well, I tried to meditate, but I just kept thinking. And so mindfulness would say, okay, these thoughts are going to come. Then let's just place our awareness on these thoughts and see where it takes us. So you're now being mindful of the thoughts and what's happening, so on and so forth. That's like Vipassana. And there's some other different forms of meditation that's like that. Transcending is what I saw as most effective. Transcending means to go beyond. What we're going beyond mostly our sensory perception. So we're always tied down to what we're hearing, thinking, smelling, all these different things. And if we really want the mind to settle down, we need to go beyond that. And so what Vedic science, Veda again means science, it's a way to calm the mind down by using sound. They call it a
Mm-hmm.
mantra. A mantra is just a sound that has no meaning, and it allows the awareness of the mind to go within simply by using these different sounds of nature. Um, I talk about primordial sound. I use sound therapy at my spa.
Okay.
If you think of like a piano, A note, B note, C note, the musical notes, each one of these notes is a certain frequency, is a certain vibration. And so these aren't even really the most primordial sounds. Using these mantras are more aligned with the laws of nature. And so just by thinking them, close your eyes. You don't have to sit cross leg. You don't have to, do anything. Sit as comfortable as you like. I'll find as a meditation, as a TM teacher, transcendental meditation, then I've been taught through my certification on which sounds will be more productive for you at this stage of life. And then I'll give you that sound. And it's something that you can think, which allows the mind again to go within, to settle down. And again, I look at it as this kingdom of heaven is within. And this is the way that by bringing my awareness, my mind within, I've been able to have all of my desires fulfilled. And again, it was least amount of effort and most efficient. And it's the same thing that the scriptures were saying, bring, kingdom of heaven, and then all things will be added on to you. And so it's a simple, natural technique. You do 20 minutes twice a day, where you're thinking this sound, and automatically you have this experience. And experience mostly is going to start off where um, mind and body are intimately connected. So as the mind settles down, the body also settles down. When the
Okay.
body settles down, just like when we're in sleep, that's when the body is throwing off stress. That's when the body's metabolizing. That's when the body's going through a lot of its different changes. And
Right.
so we're wanting to give the body a place where it can settle down to throw off stress, throw off impurities, so that when you come out of that 20 minutes, you're more refreshed, you're more active in society, you're starting to see more results from that. And so that's the main technique that I do teach. And if people are, again, coming for health reasons, I might have some other approaches for them, or you might just be coming for relaxation, and that helps too. Like, that's another way to throw off the stress and impurities. It's just then you're gonna have to come back to me again next week or tomorrow, and where you can just have this technique where it's yours, that you can use every day whenever you need it to settle down your mind and body, and this gives you control to rewrite your story.
Mm.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna have to look at more forms of meditation. Because currently what I do, I just sit there, make my mind go blank before I know I ain't went to sleep. I'll be like, and I go to sleep.
Yep. It's common. It's common, man.
Well, Corey, hey, thank you for coming on to the show, man. Thank you for being an inspiration, and the journey that you've been on is definitely one that people experience but never overcome, and you are one of the few people that I know that have overcome it. So I definitely going to send my congratulations and my admiration over to you, man.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Great to be here today. If anybody needs some advice, lunafloatspa.com. You can find all my information there. Yeah, I'm always here for people. So,
And we're going to definitely add that information into the description. Hey, I'm MNG. This is Courtney, and we are going to be out. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
thank